Good early Sunday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, breaking in once again for some more severe weather coverage. We've now had a severe thunderstorm warning and a flash flood warning issued for the downtown Jacksonville area. You see that green polygon that just coming up here in the last few seconds for that flash flooding thread, just as I was getting ready here to post the coverage and come on here. So a couple different things to track. The severe thunderstorm warning for central Duval County goes to 5:45. That's the yellow polygon. At 4:56, the severe thunderstorm is located over Riverside, over Jacksonville, talking about downtown Jacksonville area here, and it's moving west at only 5 miles an hour, and it includes Jacksonville, Arlington, NAS Jack, Cisco Gardens, Ortega, Normandy, San Marco, Riverside, Talleyrand, and Jacksonville Heights. So you want to prepare immediately for large hail and damage and wind gusts. We're talking about hail there upward of about 1.25 inches in diameter and winds to about 60 miles an hour. So as things are pretty nasty looking here on the Doppler radar in some pretty highly populated areas as people are trying to enjoy their Sunday evening. And now you see the darker green polygon. This is a flash flood warning. Radar indicated flash flooding here at 5:01. Doppler radar did indicate thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area there, central Duval County, as we're talking about 1 inch has already fallen, and additional amounts of 1 to 3 inches will be possible here. So flash flooding is either ongoing or expected to begin shortly. We're talking about Jacksonville, Normandy, Ortega, Riverside, Cisco Gardens, San Marco, White House, Airfield, and Talleyrand, and even McCoy's Creek as well, a vulnerable area to that flash flooding, as the Weather Service is talking about the torrential rain occurring over downtown and the west side. So that flooding there will likely start to develop there with the street flooding around McCoy's Creek. So it's just falling really quickly here. Urban area can cause issues. As you can see here, in just the last hour or so, some of these red areas indicate over 1.5 inches of rain has fallen in those spots. So got to really be cognizant of that. So we have a couple warnings, a severe thunderstorm and a flash flood warning in place. So we've had all three types of warnings now issued today by the office in Jacksonville. In that we've had thunderstorm warnings, a tornado warning for Flagler County we were on for earlier, and a flash flood warning now as you're seeing that in toward Jacksonville. So again, this is the radar estimates over the last hour. The red indicating over 1.5 inches. The orange area is indicating here as we're looking about 1.25 inches or so. And then the yellow over about 1 inch, give or take, depending on exactly where you're at. So just kind of giving that perspective here. And as we look toward the south, you really see quite a bit of rain in Clay County, but we're talking about more rural areas there, so that's helping out some. That's when we haven't seen a flash flood warning type or even a flood advisory type situation be necessary in terms of that issuance of the statement there of the alert from the Weather Service. So we'll go ahead and zoom back in toward the north here. We'll take a look outside actually, as we're about 10 minutes into the thunderstorm warning, about 5 minutes into the flash flood warning. I want to go ahead and show you what's happening there as we look at some of our different cameras in this area, because they can kind of give us a little bit better look at what actually is happening as we're getting down toward the surface here and getting more updates from the National Weather Service. Of course, those can be very important in this type of situation. So here's your baseball grounds camera, and that really does tell the story about how nasty things are. I mean, you do not want to be outside right now. The wind, the hail, the lightning, the flooding is really nasty to be outside right now at 5 o'clock on a Sunday early evening here in the summertime period, in the meteorological summer. So again, I just want to be really careful out there, as that's not a type of situation you want to be out in right there, as you can just see how dangerous it does look and how nasty it looks there as well. So we'll go ahead and move away from that. We'll go back on over to our Doppler radar. You see all the lightning here right around downtown Jacksonville. You see our wind, getting quite a bit of wind in here. Some of the wind enhancements showing up, it looks like, around areas here in the southwestern part of the flash flood warning. You see this here as we get down to street level mapping a little bit further even, trying to identify some of these roads here as we're looking. It looks like McGurk's Creek Drive west. There was some of the strongest wind possibly, maybe even a little bit of a notch here, helping this wind to get down to the surface. So I just have to be cognizant of that as we look at upscale growth. We're not seeing a lot of that, though, so that's some good news, at least not in that area, but we're seeing it off to the east. So that could be an issue this morning. It does go all the way out here, and you kind of have to break these down. We have so many different things. I'm going to take the significant weather advisories off right here. So we can clean things up a little bit, as we do have the thunderstorm warning going all the way out to the east, maybe some small hail out here as we're looking over toward areas with the purple on the mapping, talking about Keystone Drive north here in Jacksonville, also US Highway 1 alternate, State Road 228, getting into some of the heavier rainfall here and maybe some nasty weather there as well. So a dangerous evening, early evening, Sunday evening here in toward Jacksonville. Nothing tornadic at the moment, it doesn't look like, but we'll continue to watch to see if anything spins up here. But right now it's looking like just straight line winds, maybe some hail in here. We're getting some hail indications on our other radar product a few minutes ago. I never really got it to go over an inch, but you just never know this time of year as we go over there. Look at this. I'll be able to say what we're talking about with that. We'll pull up our hail product here, and you'll be able to see this is what we were getting up to about an inch in diameter there, right near the St. Johns River, as we were looking there just a few minutes ago. But our live hail product, not so much of anything. So that's some good news for sure, as we're in that area. So not sowing more than about a tenth of an inch of hail, which would probably not be much of anything, maybe pea-sized up, but well, that's good news. Really seeing this fall apart in terms of that severe characteristic really quickly here. But that flooding threat probably is becoming the bigger story there. And the lightning, just a really nasty storm right here over Jacksonville. As we're looking at things over the last hour, another rainfall color table. There's still about 2 inches of rain, give or take. And with this rain still falling heavy, we could be talking about some spots getting 4 inches in a pretty quick amount of time in an urban area. So that can be problematic. We just want you to remember to turn around, don't drown here in these type of situations when you see a road covered in water, as that's probably our biggest hazard here at this point in addition to the lightning. So I just want to kind of be aware of that here this evening for sure. I'll put up those flash flood warning safety tips to just, if you need to, move to higher ground. Of course, if you don't have to, just try to stay put here in a storm like this. But just even 6 inches of flowing water could knock you down in these type of scenarios. That's always important to remember here. So this is turning more from a severe thunderstorm warning situation. That's what we came on. And you see, it just went off the screen. The severe thunderstorm warning has been allowed to expire pretty quick by the National Weather Service. So that's good news. But it's a flash flooding type of scenario now here setting up over Jacksonville. So we're going to stick with this a little bit longer here. We'll see how things go. May keep the stream going. Not exactly sure. We haven't had many flash flood warnings here toward our area in a while. So we're going to kind of see how we're going to handle this. This is something you'll get in the summertime, though, with just a lot of rain in a pretty short amount of time. As we look back on over now toward our rainfall estimates once again here, over 2 inches in the last hour there toward I-10. So that can definitely cause some problems here in this area. So again, it's a thunderstorm warning. When we came on here in about the last 10 minutes, that's been canceled very early because things fell apart with that threat. But now we're talking more about a flash flooding threat. Let's take a look outside once again at the baseball grounds camera in Jacksonville, where you do see here just the really nasty conditions outside right now. You can see how nasty it looks. You just don't want to be out and about in a situation like this here, folks, because you have that pond in the water in the road. You don't know how deep it is. So, again, a flash flood warning now, not a severe thunderstorm warning anymore, but just a flash flood warning in play for Jacksonville. Talking about a typical one right now. Now, if we were to really keep this rain over this area even longer, we could end up seeing this upgraded to a considerable flash flooding threat. That's one of those where you're really more concerned about the danger in these type of scenarios. Right now, it's a level 1 per se flash flood warning, but any flash flooding situation is dangerous. Of course, with the lightning around as well, you have to be cognizant of that. So, again, really watching this here toward Jacksonville with that flash flooding threat. I will go ahead and move away here. We'll move away from the camera shot right now and take you back on over to the Doppler once again as we watch things. Generally, when you have the weakening thunderstorm action, that should help to cause the rainfall rates to fall off some, and that's what we're hoping for, of course. But you just never know here. You just have to kind of be on your toes about things because things can still be pretty nasty out there, pretty problematic with flash flooding around. So again, let's go over now to our other source. This will be our GR level 3 here. You'll be able to see the wind not too strong in this, but our rainfall estimates here now in the last hour over 2 inches. As we're getting down at street level mapping here, we'll get in really tight. Talbot Avenue, These are some of the areas where we'd have the biggest flooding problems, as we would likely see more of an issue here. Ingleside Avenue here, as well as Riverside Avenue, Edgewood Avenue, as these rains still falling until we start to see the red go away from the area that's already seen 2 inches. We're going to have problems continue to increase in their severity. So Willow Branch Avenue in here, South Macduff, really highly populated area, as you're able to see. Very highly populated. Very busy here on a Sunday, no doubt. Remington Street here with this up toward, it looks like, Post Street. We're talking about people here that aren't necessarily used to this area either, maybe just traveling up here for a Sunday, for a weekend. So this isn't a type of situation where you have people that work here 5 days a week, they kind of know their way around. These could be tourists in this area right now trying to enjoy things. And we have a flash flooding danger right now. Not an extreme danger, but you still have to remember, if you have a road that's covered in water, you got to avoid that here. And toward Jacksonville, again, we're looking at rainfall estimates over the last hour or so, over 2 inches, and then back to radar. This is heavy rain falling on top of that area that we've been showing you. And you just got a next update there. It's now up to 2.5 in the last hour there near Valencia Road. So getting down toward Boone Park Avenue here. Even over toward Canterbury Street, over 2.5 inches in just the last hour. So that's problematic here, folks. Getting these amounts to add up. And same here toward the west, just north of I-10. Also looking here west of 295, we're talking about Beaver Street, Posey Road, DeVoe Street. Also getting over toward areas close toward, it looks like Teague Road too in here. So we're watching things very carefully in this area. We're at 5:15 right now in the coverage. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, keeping you up to date. Let's take a look at storm total amounts here on the rainfall. You'll be able to see here 2.5, 3 inches in some of these spots, and these are not the spots that generally handle this easily. Like when we got down to the south, we've seen more rain, but these areas are more rural, and the water can run off a lot easier than in Metro Jacksonville, one of our more vulnerable spots, if not the most vulnerable spot, to flash flooding in our area, and right around McCoy's Creek as well. So a flash flood warning now for parts of Duval. Once the rain starts slacking off here, I'll feel a lot more comfortable going back here and wrapping the coverage up here, right, going off. But again, for now, we're going to stick with some type of coverage. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to come back here in a few minutes. We're going to get some cameras up, see if we can see how the impacts are there as we're getting down towards some of those different roadways, some of those different intersections. I'll be back in about 4 minutes or so with more information. So stick with me. Flash flood warning continues till 7 for parts of Duval County. So the thunderstorm warning no longer in effect. The wind threat fell apart pretty quick. The hail threat fell apart pretty quick. But flash flooding now becoming and is the biggest danger here in toward parts of Duval County, in addition to some of that cloud to ground lightning still occurring right around downtown Jacksonville. Back here in the Weather Center at 5:20, meteorologist Casey Cloud continuing flash flood warning coverage. This was severe thunderstorm warning coverage, but that severe thunderstorm situation subsided. But now we're talking about some dangerous flooding possible in some of the more vulnerable spots. Now, some spots will be okay, of course, but other spots with this heavy rain falling can have issues, and we are starting to have some issues. I've been looking at some of our different cameras here. I-10 at Cassett Avenue, that's an area I know sometimes it can have some issues over there, so we're going to go ahead and put that camera on the screen here in just a second. We have some of these loaded in our system to be able to give you that visual outside so you know exactly what's going on here toward these different spots, because this situation can be dangerous as you're out and about. There's a lot of cars on the road I've seen in the camera side, so we'll go ahead and switch sources here so we can do that a little more effectively here. Just trying to make sure you guys know exactly what's going on out there. I mean, it's Sunday evening. People aren't that familiar with these areas, as we've been emphasizing here, so you just have to be really, really careful overall as you do head out and about. So we just have all these different shots up so you guys know exactly what's going on out there, so you can kind of get a gauge for the threat levels that are ongoing here towards some of these different spots. So here's one of our viewpoints now. We'll go ahead and show this to you. You see what's happening there. Flash flood warning in effect there. You see a lot of those lights on, some of those flashers on as well. You see, it looks like over here a construction zone, maybe something like that. You see the water around there, the muddiness there. So just a nasty situation. Again, this is I-10 and Cassett Avenue in toward Jacksonville with the storminess, with the inclement weather conditions that are ongoing. So that's just one of our shots there. We'll go ahead and move away from this right here. Move back to radar for the time being, and we'll go ahead and get some more shots loaded on into our system. So we have another shot now at Lane Avenue. It's pretty close to this area, I think, and we'll be able to go ahead and kind of give you a look from that shot, that camera as well. So this one here is a little blurrier because of the rain and because of the weather that's been ongoing there. So here is Lane Avenue now. You see the flashers still, the storyline there. Again, trying to show you exactly what's going on. Pretty nasty evening there. People may be working on Sunday as well, and that can be a problem for their evening commute. So just not conditions you want to be in. These are Florida 511 cameras, by the way. They're available anytime there on their website, the Florida 511 website there, and that is florida511.com, fl511.com, what I mean by that. But again, just watching things very carefully here with some other camera shots as well. So we'll go ahead and get another shot rendered in our system here too, see if we can give you another visual of what's actually happening here as you look outside on a stormy Sunday evening. That rain's still falling, but those rainfall rates have been dropping some, which obviously is some great news here as we're getting towards some of these different areas of Jacksonville. So again, just still watching things carefully there. Trying to give you those looks outside, give you an idea of what's going on here on the actual ground level per se. Another one here has a backup at I-10 and 295, so maybe an accident there is possible for sure in these type of conditions. So just got to always be really careful here. Use that extra caution. Make sure you slow down here in these type of situations. So let's go ahead and pop this up now. It's going to be a little bit smaller looking on the screen, I think, but yeah, there you go. It's a little bit. It's not in a 16 by 9, it's a 4 by 3, but you still kind of get the idea here with some of these lights on, of course, this evening as you're out there. It looks like some construction in that region as well, so something to kind of just think about too as you're trying to slow on down there and make sure you abide by all the different laws. But okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and move away from the cameras now. I just gave you a few different viewpoints of what's going on there in Jacksonville on this Sunday evening. You see the radar here. We're watching things, of course, here at about 5:24, 5:25, and you do see the rain still falling, but lightning not as heavy in this concentration, so that's good news. Seeing a little bit of wind enhancement there right along. It looks like Superior Street, but not seeing something too significant. Our ZDR not showing too much in there. So this is going to continue to weaken, but still dump that rain, and that rain can still be problematic. And while we're on, let's go ahead and talk about some other areas of our region. We'll talk about a few of the things, I think, and then we'll probably wrap it up. Of course, watching the tropics as well. More about that tomorrow. Could end up having two systems evolve. One will be moving away from the U.S. Around North Carolina, but the other system moving toward the Gulf. Maybe not direct impacts, but some type of impacts in terms of increasing moisture later on. But we're already seeing increasing moisture from another system that's impacting us here. I know we've had some lower pressures on my barometer here as we've been looking, so just kind of interesting to see that. But again, these are your radar images right here coming on out, and now we show you areas around Gainesville, some lighting, some rain there, nothing too intense, but Cedar Key getting some of that action. Don't want to be out there. Lighter rain in between some of these spots. Bradford County is pretty quiet. We've seen some rain here. Looking at my rain gauge today, about 3/10 of an inch. We had about 6/10 of an inch yesterday in the word dark. We'll see if we get some more later on in the picture. You see up toward Columbia, Baker County, some rain and some lightning there. So something to watch out for sure. Earlier we had a gust of 54 miles an hour near Ormond Beach with that storm that had a tornado warning as it was off toward the west of there with some of that action anyway in play. It might have been a different area actually. Yeah, I think that was a different area as I'm backing things up a little bit, but you kind of get the idea. Another area in that zone, so something to always bear in mind, of course, as we're looking at our Doppler radar. Things off toward the west look pretty good. Let's put our significant weather advisory on to make sure that we're not missing anything. It's right just about the Duval County situation with the rainfall rates gradually dropping on down there. Let's go back over to where the weather's dim, the baseball grounds camera now, and you'll be able to see things are a little bit better looking. I mean, you see lights on there. At least earlier, it was pretty much just completely obscured, so you always have to just be careful in these situations, but the rainfall rates are dropping some there around Jacksonville, so that's a positive, at least as you're looking outside. And then we're going to also pull up some power outage information as well. I'm going to go ahead and get that on up here. So we give you an idea of what's going on in terms of some of these different numbers here, because we are seeing some of those power outages around. We had some of those yesterday in play as well here toward the first coast, toward north central Florida, South Georgia, the Tallahassee area as well. You get the idea. And today about 12,000 customers died in the state according to poweroutage.us right now. So let's go ahead and swap this out. We'll see that on the screen, and you do see Nassau County actually haven't had any warnings up that way, but 1,050 customers in the dark there, 1,040 customers in the dark in Duval County, 182 in St. John's, none in Clay, 7 in Bradford, none in Union, 17 in Columbia, none in Swanee. Get down to Gilchrist, 18. Levy had storms earlier in the afternoon, 37 there, 259 in Marion County, and then Putnam 254 in Flagler. We had that circulation on radar, 271 customers in the dark. So just kind of giving you a rundown of some of those different power outages here this evening. Show you what's happening towards some of these different spots. So giving you those camera shots, giving you those power outage information numbers there. Trying to give you a look here at also just the rainfall estimates as well over the last hour. You do see upward about 3 inches or so as we're getting down here near Ingleside Avenue, Talbot Avenue. Again, these whites indicative of these rainfall estimates. I'll put the mouse back on here. This can be helpful in these type of situations as well. I think I'll put actually our rainfall estimates on too. I haven't done this in a while, but we'll put it where you can actually see some of these different numbers here. We'll go ahead and try to give you an idea of what's going on here in terms of these as I'm moving the mouse around, so you can kind of get a gauge, not just in the broader sense, but even more localized senses. I know this radar does a great job here matching up the numbers to actual numbers on a rain gauge. It's showing really similar numbers to what I have on my rain gauge here in the Ward Dark area. So just always interesting to get a gauge on that. So again, we're going to go ahead and put the mouse down on here now. You see 2.83, 2.75, 2.88, 2.27, 2.32 in here. You kind of get the idea of some of these different areas here. And in fact, I'll take this off for a second because I can actually go ahead and even put the streets on here we'll put this so you guys get an idea of what different streets we're talking about with these rainfall estimates here in toward Jacksonville. I don't even have to mention them. You can kind of get a gauge for what we're talking about there. Longview Street, though, I'll mention that one, 2.83 inches there in the last hour according to radars. We get another update now, over 3 inches showing up here. Some of these other roads here in this area, Longview there, getting into some of that. Also getting over toward, it looks like Park Street in there as well. So just trying to give you an idea for some of these St. John's Avenue, also even into ward areas further off toward east. Put a mouse back on Willow Branch Terrace. So just giving you an idea for some of these different estimates here. Hollingsworth Street, 3.12 inches in last hour. So we're really getting a lot of rain into toward Jacksonville here with our rainfall estimates. And you go off toward the west, you see I-10 in here over 2 inches. Some of these spots even down further to the west, 2.5 inches, 3 inches here near DeVoe Street into toward Jacksonville. So again, just watching some of these different numbers. Just got a report in now, social media to broadcast media of it looks like up to 6 inches of water flooding the intersection of Bay Street and Main Street in Jacksonville. So let's go ahead and zoom on in here. This is coming in as we see the rainfall estimates less in that spot. So that's a little bit concerning, seeing a little bit less in toward that area, but still broadcast media reporting video there showing up to 6 inches of water flooding the intersection of Bay Street and Main Street in downtown Jacksonville. So even though an inch or so in the last hour, we'll go ahead and put on our storm total here. It might be a little higher as we look on that, but not too much higher. So that's in a really urban area. Makes it harder for the water to run on off. As we look down toward the south, storm totals might be a little behind because it kind of takes things into consideration on a longer scale. And what that means is it's not going to go quite as long with the rapid updates. But again, we're watching things carefully. About 3 inches or so, some of these spots, give or take. We'll go ahead now and take off our street level information and our data information here, but just trying to give you a little bit different perspective on that. Something we don't use too often here, but again, you don't see too much lightning anymore. That's some good news for sure. The rainfall rates are dropping, but they're still not, they haven't dropped enough here to sound the all clear, as more flooding could still occur. We're still getting based about 50 dBz within radar, so that can still be problematic here for sure as we're looking toward, it seems, Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway. So again, it's got to be really careful here. Lesser rainfall rates here in some of the other spots, but still seeing some pretty high rates overall. Seeing some storminess even in southern Baker County now, maybe some intensification. You see our ZDR values here, they were a little bit higher, showing up there. Not seeing too much on that scan though, which is good, but still watching things carefully here. Seeing if there's any upscale growth. Looks like north of Sawgrass, we're getting a little bit of intensification there, possibly. I just have to continue to watch the grand scheme of things here within our Doppler radar algorithms. We're watching just all sorts of different modes. I'll pull up another viewpoint of our storm total rainfall or 1 hour rainfall here. We'll be able to kind of get a gauge for what's going on as we're looking out there, as we're looking out toward parts of Jacksonville. Just trying to give you an idea of what's going on there overall. So precipitation wise, we're just going to go to digital storm total, I think, on our radar scope. So this will be able to break things down for you here as well. You'll be able to kind of get a gauge here for what's happening in toward these different spots. So I'll go ahead and put this on. You see about 3 inches or so as we're looking here. You're looking to the south of I-10, into toward parts of Jacksonville, even north of I-10 though, areas here as we're going west of 295, over 3 inches. So I know you can't really read those numbers, but just trying to give you another visual on this here as we go over to the current radar viewpoint. You're still seeing some moderate rain in this spot, but it's not as heavy as it was. And then as we look over toward the east, you don't see these DVC values as high as they were. So that's good news. Another way of looking at 1 hour rainfall here. A little bit harder to get a gauge on what's happening, but you see here about 2.5 inches. Still seeing moderate rain, but still seeing some problems here overall Just continuing to watch things. There's that media report of the flooding, a different way to look at that. So we'll keep you updated. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the coverage, though, here as the rainfall rates are gradually subsiding. Still got to watch for some more flooding in some urban spots, even areas where we're seeing a heavier rainfall than this. You still have that flooding even in the flash flood warning. The threat is not ended. The rain is not really falling apart that quickly here. So it still could get worse in some spots here before it gets better. Other spots that are going to start to improve as these rates should be low enough where we start to see a little bit more drainage at least. So that's some good news here. Just still be careful out there, even if we're off the air. The flash flood warning does remain in effect till 7 o'clock here for parts of Duval County here in Jacksonville. So we'll keep you updated. If we need to break back in, we will. We'll come back on another stream. But this is starting to subside here real quick. An overview, you see some lightning in Baker County, some storms in southeast Duval, storms there in the Gulf of Mexico, quite a few, just numerous storms in Mississippi. I know earlier today, no risk in play. Ended up getting a slight risk there, a severe thunderstorm watch even, and a nasty day in the word part of Mississippi for sure as we look at our technology out there. So I just kind of have to keep an eye on everything that's going on, even seeing stuff in Oklahoma, seeing severe weather toward parts of Pennsylvania, into Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, Kentucky. You get the idea there. So I just have to kind of keep an eye on everything from that national perspective. You see, as I move the map over, maybe a tropical system moving toward Louisiana next week. So we'll watch for that, of course. We'll watch for everything as it does transpire. I see that storm near Monroe. You see here different things that are going on overall here with inner Doppler just west of Tupelo there, south of Meridian, several reports in play there. A lot of trees down in that general vicinity. So a stormy day in parts of Mississippi in your month of June. So meteorological summer is here. We're still watching things to that flash flood warning toward Jacksonville. But as I'll back this up, you'll be able to see here, we had the darker red on the screen a little while ago. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I know it flashes a little. I apologize about that. But you'll be able to see that we're seeing the rainfall rates gradually decrease. So that's some good news. But still got to be careful here. Still be weather aware, of course, in this area. Again, if we need to be on, we will. But luckily, temperatures are falling generally because of this rain, because of the storminess. So the energy is being taken away to north central, northeast Florida overall. Southeast Florida still has some kind of interesting to see, but may not have the overall forcing for more storms there. We'll just have to wait and see here, as that's a key fact and a key contribution to what storms and where storms could evolve. So if we need to come back on, we will, of course. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. That flash flood warning remains in effect for parts of Duval County, central Duval County, until 7 o'clock.